friends, welcome back to the Farotech podcast. I'm Lindsey Daku. I'm a senior account manager here at Farotech, and I'm joined again by our CEO, Chris Carr. Chris wrote a blog post recently on how to maximize your marketing budget. Great topic, and that is what we're going to be discussing today. So, Chris Carr, initial thoughts?
Well, I think the initial thought is that's probably the number one question that we get. It's very rare when someone comes to us and they say, hey, you know what, I've got an unlimited budget to spend on marketing. They're
Love
always
those times.
Yeah. It's usually saying, I want a lot and this is how much I'm willing to spend. And so we got to say, well, let's figure out the best way to get the most out of that. Specifically when you have a comprehensive marketing system, it's cheaper to just focus on one thing, but we just don't recommend that you do. And so, that's getting the most out of it is going to be, that's why you came to a company like us.
Right. Yeah. Everybody looks at marketing and they see all the different shiny objects and they think they have to do all of them all at one time. And that's rarely the case.
Yeah.
So, some of the things that you address in the blog post, let's start with the team-based approach.
Yep. So what I mean by a team-based approach, and we did a podcast, the last podcast that you and I did together, we talked about a team-based approach. Mm-hmm. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to go and I'm going to try to visit that again. So let me try to just get the slide in the right spot. Is that with a team-based approach, let me kind of expose the challenge first. All right. Usually what happens here is that I'm going to just share my screen real quick. In a team-based approach, usually what happens is someone will go and they'll have someone that's probably working for on their team, their existing team. And we kind of call that person Marketing Mary. And in Marketing Mary is going to do the best she possibly can, but it takes more hours in the day to possibly get done what she needs to get done. It requires subject matter experts to get on the first page of Google, to have a strong social media presence, to do paid ads, and to do all those things. And so in our last podcast, we talked about how Mary's going to have to hire multiple people, content writers and social media professionals and SEO and webmasters and graphic designers. And so either they're going to hire them internally or they're going to use multiple vendors. But what's going to happen here 9 times out of 10 is that they're going to need subject matter experts. And so you can pay to have these people on your team and you're going to be paying a whole lot of money, or you can focus on working with an agency like ours that has a team-based approach. Mm-hmm. And a team-based approach is going to allow you to have access to subject matter experts all through one account manager. But what's going to happen in that process is we're going to be able to you're only going to really need to use these subject matter experts as you need them, as opposed to paying their salaries and paying these full partnerships that you might not be able to use all of their time and energy for. So when you compare a team-based approach versus hiring internally or using multiple vendors, we usually come in at a deep, deep discount. So when we're talking about maximizing when we talk about maximizing your approach, that's one of the things that I want to do is be in a scenario where people come in and then they get to use all of our team and all of our subject matter expertise to accomplish what they need to accomplish, as opposed to spending so much money on hiring internally.
Yeah, and you mentioned using multiple vendors, and I think that can get really expensive fast as well, but it's also frustrating because if you are the point of contact at your company, you have to deal with all these people individually. They don't talk to each other.
Yep.
I feel like, I don't know if all agencies do this, but we will absolutely work with another vendor on that with the clients that we have. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But if you have all these different companies that you have to get synergy and you're the middle person, that can be really frustrating and time consuming too.
Let's just think about just general dependency. So if I say, what is the answer to question A? And I say, well, it's this, to this. Well, that is going to spur on a whole different set of questions. So then you got to go back to the other vendor and say, well, now that I know this from vendor A, does that change what you said? And then you're just going back and forth trying to get on the same page. Or you're paying top dollar to have multiple vendors in the room just to get anything done.
Right.
That happens as well.
Yeah, and they have to jive with each other too. It can be really frustrating. Yeah. So the team-based approach, obviously, I think there are a ton of benefits. I think that, and I don't know what other agencies do. I know what a few agencies do, but with us, I know we each spend so much time innovating in our specific specialty that I feel very proud to say that we are always like innovating and on the cutting edge, and even like looking past and looking to what the future, where the trends are going, which I think is really important. So I appreciate that Farotech invests in us to do that, because it really does. It helps our clients go further.
Well, I mean, like, just think about something like SEO Moz or Mazcast, right? So Mazcast is let me just see if I can find a slide for that too, because it's just really interesting when you just see what kind of goes into some of this process. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. Give me 1 second here. I lost my tab, and so I'm going to have to start again. So what's going to happen here is that something like Mazcast is set up so that, like, they're going to show every single algorithm change that happens. But there's literally a weather report on a daily basis to say how often is Google changing the algorithms, how are they changing the dials, and how does that impact what you've done, where you're going, where you've been, all that stuff like that. So if you figure that if Google controls almost all of SEO and a lot of, and pretty much all of, at least when we say paid advertising, at least paid advertising in the Google network, if those things are being adjusted on a daily basis, it's going to be extremely difficult for one point of contact, or basically that marketing Mary person, or that person in your company, to know everything that's changing at such a rapid pace and how to adjust. So that's just a small little teaspoon of what goes on in the background. So you need subject matter experts. Like, we have 2 people on our team that just focus on SEO, and they're looking at algorithm changes, and they're looking at how content impacts SEO, and they're constantly seeing, are the dials changing, and if so, what do we do about it?
Yeah, and as a account manager, I really appreciate that too, because I focus a lot on strategy, but I don't have time to monitor the daily changes with Google. So getting in our Skype thread an update from one of the SEO specialists saying, hey guys, here's a major change that just happened. Here's what you need to check in your client accounts, and here's what we need to do to mitigate any changes. I mean, oftentimes there's minimal impact just because of the way that our systems work. So our clients are very resilient to changes like that. But getting those like updates that are very proactive and we know exactly what we need to do is super helpful.
I mean, whether they're changing the algorithm or even just adding new features to what they already have. I mean, think about LinkedIn. Like, you think you have LinkedIn figured out, it gets bought by Microsoft, and literally they either add a new feature or they take something away, like moment by moment. It's like, it's really hard to, we don't even write a ton of information on LinkedIn because they're moving the goalposts on a daily basis.
Yep.
We use LinkedIn. Our guys our team is ready to go to implement strategies on LinkedIn, but it's moving so fast. Yeah.
I mean, even stupid stuff like we just had to go and Facebook changed like their optimized profile, the banner image size. And we had to go across all our clients and update it so that it looks good on mobile and on desktop. Yeah.
Right.
So even that stupid little stuff that nobody has time to pay attention to, we're on top of it.
That would land on a CMO's desk and think, oh, by the way, you got to get it done among all your other things. And if you say you're in the healthcare space, there's 40 doctors that are on your team, and one of them is going to send you an email and says, hey, how come our graphic doesn't look good? I'm like, well, because I got 1,000 other things on my plate.
Right. Yeah. So I think the other benefit of working with the team-based approach with an agency is that, honestly, you have less dirty work to do. So I know a couple of clients that we've had in the past that we've had to go through this with is when they get the sense that the writer that we have placed, like obviously they've reviewed writing samples from multiple writers and chose the writer. We all get on the same page with the language and tone and all of that stuff. But when they are a couple blogs in and they're the client's like, I don't think the writer is really getting our voice, or, using language that's empathetic enough, or whatever. They come to us, the account manager, and say, we need to work something out here. And then we get to go and find the right fit for them. So I think also another benefit, a small benefit maybe, but you don't have to do that sort of dirty work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they don't want to be headhunting. I don't want to be hiring. The other thing that's just great about a team-based approach is that at any time they can say, you're doing really great at this, but your social media is just not working. Well, I can swap out a social media coordinator into your system within 24 hours. Mm-hmm. Think about that when you're with a company. I mean, Sammy social media isn't getting it done. It's pretty difficult to fire somebody, rehire somebody, get them up. I mean, that's probably
going through the whole training process. Ugh.
It's a $40,000 shift.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I did want to talk about a little bit beyond the team-based approach. So after you have your team and you are rolling with your marketing, optimizing your budget, moving forward, what are some ways that you like to see clients optimize their budget in that manner after their marketing's already going?
Well, let me show you what I believe a comprehensive approach is going to look like. And then I'll talk about sort of how the money works, because what I don't want to do is not give a full vision of what the investment sort of looks like. Yeah. So when we go and we develop an inbound marketing approach, what I'm trying to do is be in a scenario where we develop a gap assessment right up front. The gap assessment it's about a 2-month process, but it's a deep dive to say, hey, you know what? How do we scale your business in the next 3 to 5 years so that you're going to grow maybe by 5x to 10x? Then I'm going to look at your usability, and I'm going to say, people are coming to your website. Let's put heat mapping software on there. Let me track eye movements. Let me track mouse movements. Let me track clicks. Let me track everything that we can possibly analyze to make sure that people are getting the right message at the right time. All right. Then I'm going to figure out from a lead generation standpoint, how am I going to get people, how am I going to get the horse to the well? So for SEO, we're going to do all the best practices to get your website in a spot where we identify the right keywords to get people there. That is a little bit less competitive, but we find these keywords that are this really great sweet spot that gets the most traffic with the least amount of competition. From a content strategy standpoint, our team is going to be, in the most ideal sense, writing all of your content, putting it into a system that's going to not only write the content, but also re-optimize it so that we're constantly getting on the board with Google. We connect automation with your process so that we can drip market to people that come into your system, with things like features and benefits emails, overview, cost of procrastination, testimonies, case studies, you name it. Social media, whether that's paid or organic social media, we're going to get your message pushed on all the critical platforms from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram. Paid advertising, we're going to connect our approach. It's more of an art and a science to make sure that we get your right message to the right people through several different paid channels. Video development, which is obviously critical to explain your message quickly and effectively. And then analyzing it through analytics and figuring out how do you make data-driven decisions for your market. So there's just so much there, and that's what a full system is going to look like. And so when we start to talk about your budget, it's one of those things where when you start talking about numbers, I think what can happen is that people can say, "Oh, that's really expensive." Well, I'm like, "Well, I'm building a system. We don't believe in solutions. We build a bunch of solutions all under one roof into a system."
Yeah. The beautiful thing about the analytics, and I'm an analytics specialist, so it's near and dear to my heart, is that the tools that we use, I think, are incredible, because all of those different channels that you just listed out all have specific efficacy with different clients and different industries. So when we look at our analytics after we run a campaign for a little while, or multiple campaigns for a little while, we're able to see, immediately what the return is based on each channel, each broken down by campaign. And then we're able to see, obviously we want to give it time to cook and see what actually is producing results, but then we can reallocate the budget to the channels that are really driving the return, because you can literally see from the source where they came into your website, if they completed a form, if they purchased your product, and that's what we look at. It's not like who's driving traffic to the website, because that is not the end goal. Like, the end goal is conversion, like getting them as a customer. And that's where we're able to backtrack and say, okay, this channel is working really well. Let's reallocate some budget to that for bigger impact.
And I want to make sure that, and as you're doing that, that it's not death by data. So like one of the slides that we show here is, you know what, like I can give you a lot of analytics that'll just kind of make your head spin. But on a daily basis, you're going to have real-time access to our dashboard, and the dashboard's going to say, oops, sorry. Let me get it to the right spot. Oh. In this process, you're going to say, how many visitors did I have, and how did it compare to my goals? How many contacts did I have, and how did it compare to my goals? And then how many patients or clients did I convert, and how did it compare to my goals? Mm-hmm. Once I know that, I can also drill down and say, did it come via organic search, referral, social media, email marketing, and direct traffic? Now, that is a step above the large majority of companies that offer this kind of service. But if you were to even drill down even further, let's say hypothetically it's paid ads. The average company is going to basically say, we're going to drive traffic to your website through paid ads. But with our solution, you're going to be able to say, you put $5,000 a month into Facebook ads. These are the literal names of the people that came to your website via Facebook traffic. It's Bob Smith, Jane Smith, and all those people, right? That's when it gets really real. This is when it goes from macro numbers literally down to people's names and how they engaged and what their lead score is and how often they come back. That's when it gets scientific, and that's when it gets awesome.
Yeah, that is when it gets awesome. People, like, clients love being handed a list of warm leads and be like, hey, these guys came out of nowhere. We converted them to leads for you. Do you want to reach out and offer a personal whatever, you know, offer to take them to lunch for our B2B clients or whatever?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good, so that's when we were talking about how to maximize your marketing budget. It's making sure that not only do you have a comprehensive system, but you have the data behind it to find out what's working and what's not, because you will waste a lot of money trying new things simply because you just don't know your own numbers.
Yeah, and the other piece of it, I think it's really valuable and people undervalue a lot, is having someone that can interpret that data and give you specific steps of what we need to do next to increase the ROI. Yeah. So I think that gets undervalued a lot, and it's something we do really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where investing in training for our team to know what's going on with the market is, we spend probably a third of our time working on our craft. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite thing. I love client work.
Yeah.
But I love working on the analytics and figuring out what's coming next. Okay, so we're about out of time, Chris. Are any last thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I think probably the next step, if you are looking to maximize your budget or you're looking to figure out what are the first steps, I would probably reach out to us. You can reach out to us at info@farotech.com. And then you can also subscribe to this podcast because we're going to try to keep our potential clients and existing clients informed of what's going on and how to make big shifts in their marketing. But if you're looking to take the first step, please reach out to us. We are not an aggressive sales company. We're not. I want to basically give you all the data and the information that you need to make an educated decision. And if the shoe fits, we'd love to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think next time we're together on the podcast, we're going to be looking at buyer personas, which is actually something I do with clients a lot. And I love diving into buyer personas. So if you do not know who your target ideal buyer is, check out our forthcoming podcast on buyer personas.